Neil Lennon's firmly established as one of the most memorable, successful players, managers in Scottish football over the last 25 years. As fascinating, outspoken a personality as there is in the game. I'm Derek McGregor, and this is One on One. And Neil, currently Dunfermline Athletic boss, provides an extraordinary account of a near 40 years in football, which also takes in Premier League glory in England and managerial spells in Cyprus and Romania. Neil, have you played cards yet with James Bird?
I haven't, and I don't intend to either. I think you'd have my number on that one for sure.
The co-owner, of course, former professional poker player, Las Vegas based.
He is, yeah, but he's from London originally. He very interesting man. A lot of long sort of conversations with him, you know, before I took the job on. Really interested in what he's trying to do. You know, he's got a multi-club ownership with obviously Dunfermline, a club in Bulgaria, Cordoba in Spain. You probably wouldn't want me to over-elaborate too much on what he does, but as an owner, I couldn't have asked for more support, really. And what he's trying to do here is something that's totally different from me. You know, he wants to develop the club, obviously, on and off the field, and develop players and, you know, be successful over the next sort of 2 or 3 years. So, you know, you can see the pitch. I mean, he's invested heavily in the pitch and invested heavily in, you know, making things better for the players here in terms of, you know, food around the stadium and just up in the professionalism of the whole club. And, you know, the players have really bought into it and they're really enjoying it.
And his fellow co-owner, Evan Sofer, they're both in Las Vegas. I don't know, how often are they here to see you?
Well, Evan was here in September. He was here for a week. James I met in July. He was here for a week with his family and got to see him over, you know, a couple of days period. And I'm on the phone to him, you know, 3-4 times a week, alongside, you know, obviously the CEO David Cook and John Cahoon, who's helping out in the background with, you know anything that we need, really. So I've got a top quality group of people to work with and work for, and you know, James and Evan, they head it all up.
And I'm guessing they've got a live feed in Vegas. They'll see every game.
I mean, it's incredible the amount of screens he has in the one room. I mean, he's got a huge data analytical company, Short Circuit it's called. So, you know, he's worked with Tony Bloom in the past, and, you know, I think that's his way he sees sport. It's a different way from the emotional side of it, the way I would see it. So the two of us try and marry each other's ideas together. And it works. You know, we brought in some really good, talented players, and I'm enthused by what I'm doing here. And like I said, it's totally different from the likes of, you know, a Celtic or, you know, even what I did at Hibs. So this is new ground for me, and it's at 54. It is a project. I don't like the word, but, you know, it is a project, and one that's going to take, you know, a couple of years, hopefully, to fulfil.
You've got a very young squad here, haven't you? And what struck me as well was you've got a lot of players in international duty, which says a lot also about the potential of the squad.
Well, you know, Jeremiah was brought in January. He's the under-21 captain of Scotland. Shea Kearney was brought in the summer from Cliftonville, who's away with Northern Ireland, as is Mason Munn, who's on loan from Rangers. And then we've brought, you know, the two Todds have come, you know, broken through, and John Todd has made the under-19s. So it's great for the profile of the club, great for the players. We've exposed them to really hard professional football early, and you know, they've really settled into it really well. You know, we've got Keith Bray coming through, we've got Jefferson Caceres from Peru of all places, but we've got him from Sheffield United. You know, we've got Alphonse Elmad, who was German, you know, brought up in German football, then he was in Bulgaria, and then he's come here and has excelled. And then I've got a couple of other good ones in Charlie Gilmore. You know, he's been excellent. Zach Rudden, who we brought in, he was excellent. But he's injured at the minute. But we're really excited about the crop of players that we have. They're not the finished article by any means, and they're pretty inconsistent. And even inconsistent within the 90 minutes of a game. But we have to understand, and I have to understand, it's because the game management, you know, they have to learn that skill, and obviously that comes with experience.
This is a great club, Neil. I mean, it's one of our most historical clubs, and the fan base is pretty strong. Are the fans understanding of what you're trying to do? And obviously, because of the youthfulness of the squad, they appreciate there's going to be inconsistency.
I think they're enjoying the football. Obviously, the results of late haven't been what we wanted them to be. They've been mitigating circumstances for that. Very unlucky not to get a point at St Johnstone, and then against Thistle and Ayr United, we found ourselves down to 10 men with, you know, a full half to play. But we were always in the games, and we hit the woodwork in all of the games. But we're trying to. We've definitely improved since I've come in March. I mean, the football was very, very turgid, and that's changed a lot. We've got a more exciting brand of football, but it's not like I said, it's not the finished article yet, and it won't be for, you know, considerable time. But yeah, the fans have been very patient, and I think they're enjoying what they're seeing.
You've had some shocking refereeing decisions, haven't you?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, I don't really want to go into that too much.
No, but there's been subsequent acknowledgements that the decisions have been poor. Which
that's all you can ask for, is the acknowledgement that, you know, what you're seeing is correct, and obviously the referee has got it wrong. But they're big moments in the game, you know, which could really change the course of the game in our favour. So you're hoping that, you know, for 90% of the time, I think the referees get the decisions right. But, you know, the pivotal moments that they're missing, you know, that's a bit of a bugbear.
So at 54, 54.
I know.
You're getting one of the senior citizen managers.
I know,
aren't you?
I know.
I mean, do you feel it? Or do you still see yourself as one of the younger managers?
I feel young, and sometimes I have to check. I remember watching the playoff final, you know, the championship playoff final in May.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there just thinking to myself, God, I played in that 28 years ago. And you're thinking, where's the time gone? And no, but I don't know how you're supposed to feel at 54. I just feel, you know, if I woke up one day and I didn't know what age it was, I'd probably feel like, you know, 29, 30, 31, mentally anyway.
I'm not getting to see you in the touchline in championship games, but how are you now these days? What's your temperament like?
Still very passionate about winning, but, you know, a lot more mellow. And obviously I have to be a little more holistic, if you want to call it that, with the younger players. So that's something that you get as you become older. You still, you know, I always talk to Gordon Strachan about this. If you lose the energy, then there's no point in doing it anymore. And I've still got, you know, bags of energy for it, and yeah, bags of the competitive nature and the passion for it as well.
15 years a manager, 593 games. Have you got an ambition in terms of the amount of games you'd like to do?
I think the magic number for everyone is 1,000, you know, but that's, you know, a long, long way off still. Getting to 600 would be, you know, very, very pleasing when you consider the playing career that I had as well. So I'm really proud. I'm really enthused about what I'm doing. I'm really, listen, in this day and age, it's such a competitive market that any professional job is a real privilege. So this for me is a privilege, and I take it as that. I don't want to be successful at it, but, you know, I have to remember that, like in a lot of the modern game, it's not going to happen overnight. So you just build away, you know, incremental steps as we go along, and, you know, just try and stay as patient as you can. And what I'm seeing is progress, and I'm seeing progress in the consistency of performance. We're just not getting that with the results as yet. But from my own sort of point of view, I want to, you know, do something here that's, you know, you leave some sort of legacy, or you're remembered for it in a positive way.
Are you a better manager now?
Oh, I think so, yeah. I mean, I think I was a lot more sort of instinctive as a younger manager.
Impulsive?
Yeah, very impulsive, yeah. And, you know, fighting the world, trying to do everything myself, and obviously now you can delegate, and that's another thing. I've got a really good staff here behind the scenes with the footballing coaches that I have with Ian and Kevin, Andy Collier, my goalie coach, and then I've got great sports science and fitness coaches who have really done a great job with the fitness of the players, so we've been really good with the injuries.
Is that the change you notice when you become more experienced as a manager? You learn that you can't do everything yourself.
You learn to delegate.
Yeah.
And you learn that, you know, it's good to work with different people who may see the game differently from you, or have, you know, different sort of ideas on the game. The game is, I mean, we now live in an era now of data analysis, which you're seeing at Hearts and you're seeing at Brighton, and not just a lot of clubs, you know, Liverpool, all the major clubs are very heavily invested in it, and that's something that you have to evolve with, and try and get a grasp of it and understand it, and look for the incremental steps with it as you go along.
Of your 593 games, you've won 331, I think, at last count. Overall win percentage of 55%. Happy with that?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I mean, it gotta be. That's a lot. Obviously, the main crux of that would have come from the 2 spells at Celtic. I was really pleased with Hibs, you know, getting a promotion and then getting them into Europe the following year. And, you know, we developed some really good, had a real great time there for a couple of years at Hibs. And then in...
I thought you electrified Hibs.
Yeah, we did, yeah. We had a great time, you know, and the place was packed out and we played some brilliant football. And that's sort of something that I'm looking to do here, although I inherited a really good team from Alan, you know, after they won the Cup. Really good players and something to build on. This is sort of like a total restart, total reconstruct. But I want to bring that here to Dunfermline. And then in Cyprus, we won the Cup and got into the Europa League, and you're playing, you know, against Manchester United. You know, that was another great experience as well. So I've had, like everybody, a varied success. It's not always going to be an upward curve, and that's something I've had to learn about myself as well, that you can't always win everything. And then when you look at the great managers, they've had great highs, Derek, but they've also had great lows. You know, they've lost Champions League finals, they've lost leagues on the last day, they've lost cup finals. But the good thing about it is you want to always come back for more.
What mark out of 10 would you give yourself as a manager so far? 15
7
years?
maybe.
7?
Yeah, 7. Yeah, I've had a lot of success, and you know, I like to win things. Built, you know, recognised some good talent. You know, brought some good talent into the game and developed them. So I'm really proud of that more than anything. Really, is the success that some of the players that you have. And I was really fortunate to work under some great managers, in Martin O'Neill, huge, massive influence on my career. Gordon, Howard Kendall, Dario Gradi. So yeah, to sort of like carry on the work that they instilled in me, that gives me an enormous amount of pride as well.
What's your greatest strength as a manager, do you think?
I think man management and the psychological side of it. I'm not really one for being on the training ground. I'm on the training ground every day, but I delegate my coaches to do that, and I just observe more than anything. And if there's something I'm not happy with, I will step in. Tactics, I know the tactical side of the game pretty well, but definitely the psychological side would be the main point.
I see a lot of similarities there with Martin O'Neill.
Well, you have to, Derek. You know, I mean, it would be so folly of me not to have taken a lot from him. I've 10 years with him when I think he was in his pomp. You know, he went through a real difficult period at the start with Leicester and showed great mental fortitude to come through that, and then just probably, you know, people will say Ranieri, but I think Martin was Leicester's best manager. And then what he did at Celtic, you know, for the 5 years he was there, just totally, you know, revamped Scottish football and the club. So I was part of that, you know, a big part of it, and not to learn from him, and he would have learned from Brian Clough. So there is that sort of symmetry, I think, all the way down in terms of the psychological, the mental side of the game, and the man management side of the game as well. I'd have been, if I hadn't learned from him, I wouldn't have learned from anyone.
No. You'd have been dumb not to learn from him.
Exactly, yeah.
You know?
Like I said, I think at one stage he was, I mean, he's up there with any British managers in the last sort of 40, 50 years. You know, he's probably one of the best in Britain. And he took the step to come to Celtic when I think there was a lot of suitors for him in the Premier League.
When you first became a manager in 2010 with Celtic, ever since then, has he always kind of been in touch? Have you kept in touch?
We have like a fantastic relationship, like the respect I have from probably more than anyone else in the game, really.
Is he like family to you, really?
He's more like a father figure.
Yeah.
You know, another father figure. Him and John Robertson and Steve Walford for the 10 years were just magnificent. And they made football enjoyable, but they taught me how to win. You know, that was the main thing. They taught me how to win, taught me how to manage the game, and give me that responsibility on the pitch as well.
Does he still give you cutting comments?
Oh, of course, of course. We did a night at the Armadillo for him, and he had Stillian Petrov on stage first, and he was talking how Stillian and Martin's daughters, you know, when they were younger, took a real shine to Stillian, and then he went on to say, yeah, we had some really good-looking players like Jackie McNamara and Henrik and Johan Mjällby, and then I thought I'd better even it out, and that's why I signed Lenny. So yeah.
Can you take it back, or do you dare giving it back?
I wouldn't dare give it back.
No,
absolutely no chance.
No, I mean, I think I've seen you doing punditry, and you're stood beside Martin at Champions League games, and you're still calling him gaffer or boss.
Yeah, well, he's
or
always
whatever,
going to be my gaffer. It's just I wouldn't say it's a term of endearment. It's just what I know him as. I feel it's a bit awkward calling him Martin, you know, because I've been calling him gaffer for 25 years.
It's like when you meet one of your teachers, you can't bring yourself to call him with a first name.
Sir.
It doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
It's sir or mister.
But that, to me, that's a mark of respect, isn't it, more than anything else, and how well you get on with your teacher or how well you get on with your manager.
Has he ever phoned you over the years and maybe seen, I don't know, your conduct in the touchline and went, Neil, come on now?
A little bit, yeah. But then, you know, like he was quite enthusiastic on the touchline himself.
Yeah.
And again, you know, if you look at him in his Leicester days and, you know, at Celtic, he kicked every ball and, you know, he would berate officials when he needed to. I always remember the one in Juventus, you know, where... well, we had one actually in the Europa League against Atletico Madrid when, you know, the referee had a nightmare, and, you know, I hadn't seen Martin as angry as that, and then until I saw him in Juventus that night as well, where, you know, we were clearly done by a shocking decision. In contrast,
when he's phoned you or you've seen him and he's complimented you, has that meant even more coming from him?
Yeah, of course it does, yeah.
I mean, I think the night
because it's sort of like a manifestation of him, and like, you know, he made you think about the game. He made you think about why he was doing it and why he spoke to you in a certain way, where he wanted you on the pitch. And all these things would come to pass, you know, the majority of the time. And then there's a belief then in what he's telling you. You know, he made you believe in the message because there was evidence on the pitch. And I think that's the most important message for a manager, is that what you're doing works and the players start to, you know, gravitate to it and believe in it then.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing we always kind of got an impression of his team talks were phenomenal. There were certain games that, I think before the Liverpool game at Anfield, you know, team talk apparently was incredible. See the power of a team talk, did you take that from him as well?
Yeah.
What to say, how to pitch it?
What really fascinated me was, you know, coming from like Crewe, where, you know, Darry was on the training ground all the time, and, you know, his team talks would have been quite lengthy. Martin's was, you know, very short and to the point. And I asked him one day, you know, why is that? He says, well, look, Lenny, if you're going out to play against Liverpool or Rangers, you know, before the game, you got your mind's awash with the game, and if I spoke to you guys for 15 minutes, you'd forget the first 14 minutes of it. But he's right.
Yeah.
He's right. And so his points were always succinct and to the point, and what he wanted from the game and how he saw the game would go. And then the psychological side of it, where, you know, you wouldn't see him for a few days, and then he wanted to have the impact. He wanted his voice to have the impact. You know, so when he walked into the room, the light came on, you know, and everyone sort of like were on their toes a little bit, or, yeah, Gaffer's here. He had that presence about him, like, you know. And I think you have to cultivate that. I think he worked at it. I think he thought about it. The other thing about him tactically, like, was, and again, you look back on it and go, it was great. When we got promoted to the Premier League with Leicester, you know, there's myself, Muzzy, is it? Steve Guppy, maybe. There was like 5 or 6 of us that played in League One, you know, and then in the Championship for a brief spell because we got promoted. And then we got into the Premier League. We never played in the Premier League, and all through that summer, you know, pre-season, we're going by back 4. And then on the Thursday before the Premier League's kicking off, we're going to Sunderland, you know, the old Roker Park. And he bought a goalkeeper called Casey Keller, American, and a centre-half called Spencer Pryor. And when we went out an hour before kick-off, he read the team out and it was 3-5-2. Not practiced it, you know, never worked on it, just trusted us to do it. We got a draw, and then we beat Southampton on the Wednesday. And then he stayed at that for 10 years, the 3-5-2. But the method to it, Derek, was he'd looked at the squad, he'd looked at, we haven't got enough. We need to be better defensively. and how do I fit these players that I've already got, the Claridges, the Lennons, the Izits of this world, into a formation that will suit us. And it was brilliant, you know. So again, people say he didn't work on the he didn't need to. It was all like up here with him and Robbo working things out in their heads.
What's the best advice he gave you when you became a manager?
Trust your gut instinct. Just trust your gut. You're smart. You've had a great career. Just trust your gut instinct. You know what you want out of your players. You know you've done it for a long time. Just, you know, you will be swayed by other people, but you know, trust your gut instinct most of the time.
He's never off the TV now, is he? I mean, he's on Sky. He's on Sky every other day.
Well, I think
he's a great talker.
I've always found him fascinating.
Yeah.
I've always found him like great company, and you know, intelligent company, and a memory, like Sir Alex is the same. Like the memories are incredible. They can remember conversations before games or after games 25, 30 years ago. They can remember people, you know, not just in the football world but elsewhere. He's an incredible memory, and obviously a very high intelligence as well.
But should he still be in a dugout rather than a TV studio?
Probably, but I mean, has he got the energy for it? I'm sure he has, you know. But I don't know. Maybe people view him as, you know, he's in his 70s. But you know, like if you look at Ireland, you know, he's the last man to take Ireland to a tournament. You know, in 2016 when they almost beat France. So you had that knack of putting teams together and getting the best out of them.
See, when you look at management today, Neil, and sadly, I don't think there's anyone better qualified than you in football management to talk about the real nasty side of it now, the hatred of fans towards managers, the abuse, and shockingly far worse than that. I mean, as a manager, Neil, you had what? Death threats, you had a bullet in the post intercepted, you had a bomb in the post intercepted, assaulted in a ground, assaulted out of a ground. See, when you see what's going on just now, and obviously Russell Martin has just left, and some of the abuse he was having to put up was shocking. Does it appall you at the moment?
It's over the line. You know, on a human level, I felt really for Russell. Obviously, results didn't go his way. It's not that he wasn't, you know, probably working 24/7 to correct things, but the way he was treated by, and I have to say certain aspects of the media as well, is poor. You know, it's really poor, to the point of trying to humiliate the guy. And I think we're better than that. But the industry is what it is at the minute. I think it's everyone's looking for instant success. I think it's been brought on by, you know, social media, where people can actually get to you on a public forum. You know, back in the day, you might have been sent letters, you know, of complaint, or, you know, now people can put these things out there in the public domain for everyone and anyone to see it, and it's vitriolic. And I don't know how you stop that. I don't know, like, it's not just obviously from a footballing sense or a sporting sense. You know, politically, you know, there's a lot of what do they call it, misinformation, fake news, whatever you want to call it. And people have this ability to be able to hide behind an avatar and basically write what they want about you, or about your family, or about your beliefs and whatnot. And it's very unpalatable at the minute. And I think the world's angry. You know, if you see what's going on around the world, and I'm not a politician. I'm not a kind of an ambassador for anything. But I think there's an overspill that comes into society, whether it be, and it manifests itself either on the streets in protests or in the football grounds around the UK, and it's not nice to see.
How did you feel when you saw that footage at Falkirk at the weekend of Russell needing a police escort to leave the ground, and there's a baying mob trying to get to him?
Horrendous. And I'm looking at the club, and, you know, not just are the club doing more to, you know, safeguard him. You know, you see him walking across the pitch, like, you know, and he was security. I've been there myself, like, and it's not. And he won't be thinking about his own personal safety. He'll be thinking about, what could I have done better? You know, this is probably gone now. What could I have done better in the game? He probably, in the emotion of it all, he's probably not thinking about himself at the time. He'd probably have time now to, you know, down tools and have a think about what went wrong for him and what, you know, he could have done better. But, you know, he's a human being at the end of the day, and without sounding patronising, I really don't like it. It's not a good look for the Scottish game. But these people and clubs are letting them into the grounds. They shouldn't be letting them into the grounds.
I think when we saw him walking into Livingston, it was awful. There are people just a matter of feet away and they're screaming at him, get to. And it's appalling in every element of it, you know?
Yeah, but I think clubs should do more to prevent that from happening. And I also think there is people at the back of these things, an undercurrent who are pulling the strings of these people at the front. How do you get them? I don't know. But it's certainly, like, for me, not what we go into football for, Derek. Look, you can feel, right? We can win, we can feel. It's part of the sport. It's a competitive nature. No one has a divine right to win everything. I know Rangers fans are maybe feeling a bit, you know, they've suffered a lot over the last sort of 4 or 5 years due to what they would perceive as mismanagement by the club or just bad management. But it's a culmination of things. It shouldn't all be down to, you know, one person, and certainly he shouldn't be treated in that way.
You know the environment, you know, as well as anyone. And you,
yes.
On a results basis, you would have feared for him. They got to a point you'd have been concerned for his job prospects. But, I mean, not many people know. You know him quite well. You go back a long way with him. Your last ever game as a player, Neil, for Wickham, March 2008. He was a teammate of yours, at the back. And, you know, on a personal level, is he a guy you've got a good regard for?
Yeah, I mean, I was with him, you know, pre-season. We brought a team down to play a behind closed doors game at Murray Park, and he was just sort of really settling into it. Probably didn't know what he was coming into, so I tried to give him a few tidbits on that. But yeah, he's a good guy. He, like I say, we go into the game because we think we can make a difference, because we think we can make teams better. It doesn't. Listen, Derek, I've been here for 25 years. I've seen other managers lose the league by 17, 18, 19, 20 points, not win a trophy, but never hounded out. Never, like, you know, a baying mob chasing them in a car or humiliating them in the public arena. I've had it. You know, I've had it on my side of things. And I know people at Celtic who have had it as well. And it's obviously not nice. You need a bit of a thick skin to get on with, but it's not real. But what happened to Russell is real, and it's physical, and it's abusive. And I have seen it on the continent. I have seen it in other countries. But we are supposed to be like a social, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Decent.
Yeah.
Decent society, and I'm seeing a lot of anger, and it might not be just down to football. It might be social issues as well.
I must admit, whenever I saw him asked directly about the fan abuse, I respected how he dealt with it and how he responded to it. He was looking beyond that, and he was being quite strong about it. You know, I had to admire how he was dealing with that specific area.
It's horrible. I don't say in a contract to get verbally and abused by people, but seemingly people say it's part of the job. Well, it shouldn't be part of the job. Yes, you can voice your criticisms, but the vitriolic personal abuse constantly waved at people for you trying to do your job as best you can, it's unacceptable.
Do you think it was really the wrong club for him, the way his philosophy was, and maybe his outlook to the football? Was it maybe, you know, wrong club, wrong time for him?
When you're a club like Celtic and Rangers, the bottom line is you got to win. And if you win ugly, that's fine, because you can win well, you can win ugly, but you have to win, because there's the competition between the two clubs has never been fierce. Well, it has been fiercer, but certainly the dynamite between and the passion and the rivalry never diminishes. So the expectation is to win games of football, and unfortunately for Russell, you know, 1 win in 8 in the league is not good. I
mean, even though he was a player at Rangers, do you think the ferocity of life as a Rangers manager still maybe took him a wee bit by surprise?
Yeah, I do. Maybe he wasn't expecting it. And maybe, you know, the club he was at, you know, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago was a different club than it is now.
The thing is, when you became Celtic manager, the fans were delighted. When he became Rangers manager, the fans didn't want him. So he was up against it right from day one.
Yeah, and that's where you need to get results and get results quickly. And unfortunately, he didn't get that. And it just builds. they call it a pylon, whether it be in the media, whether it be on the streets, whether it be on social media. It's just people jumping, and then it comes to the point where, you know, either people upstairs or you as a human being can't take anymore.
I mean, and just in general, you look at managers, you see Big Ange at Nottingham Forest, even his own fans are now singing "You're getting sacked in the morning." I mean, it just gets ridiculous.
Well, I think it's mad. Whether Ange, like, there's this perception that Ange wants to go in and change things, and maybe he does, but he's not stupid enough to go, right, I need to change this overnight, because, you know, what Nuno had done with the team was exceptionally good. And Ange is smart enough to go, look, I'm not going to change it overnight. I'll just, you know, do it softly. And maybe, I don't think he's come in and gone, right, this is being ripped up, we're going to do it this way. I don't think Ange is that way inclined. He had more time at Celtic because he was, you know, he had time to build something. I think eventually he will want to get the team playing the way he perceives the game. But at the minute, he's not getting the results, but he's only been in the job 3.5 weeks. It is ludicrous. And it is propelled by some aspects of the media as well, no question about it. And I find that really, I don't know if some people in the media like him or don't like him. I think he comes across really, I loved his interview after Newcastle on Sunday. I actually texted him to say, you know, you did really well. What is wrong with going through a tough time now and again? That was his quote. Everybody, every club, you know, at times goes through tough times, and sometimes you just have to roll your sleeves up and just get on with it.
I think in any career, Neil, if you go through tough times, it's the making of you at times. You know,
of course it is.
You need to endure that and experience it.
You know,
so you're rounded.
I talked about all the great managers. They've all had massive highs, but massive lows.
Yeah.
Pep, Sir Alex, Ancelotti, Jurgen Klopp, you know, Brian Clough. You know, all these great managers, they've won things, but they've also lost things. As a player, I lost 2 titles on the last day of a season, but went back the next year and won them. As a manager, I lost the first title in my career on the last day of the season, went back the following year and won it. So everyone talks about your successes if you've been successful. You don't forget the losses, but it's what makes you enjoy the wins even more when you go through those difficult times and come out the other side of them. But you got to give Ange, you got to give him an opportunity. 3.5 weeks, 7 games. I can't get my head around that at all. And this is you know, we call fans fickle, and some are, but they're the ones with the loudest voices. The majority of the silent majority is okay with it.
Did you love him as Celtic manager, Ange?
Oh yeah,
football?
Yeah, I thought it was great. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Yeah, enjoyed watching. I was fascinated at times by the way his team played. I think he's a really good manager, and I think he's a really good person as well.